$22,000 in debt, 19% interest, $48,000 salary, and I was still investing $480 every single month. Everyone around me said I was doing it wrong. My friends said, pay the debt first. My family said you cannot invest until you are clean. Even some financial advice online agreed with them. I ignored all of it. 28 months later, debt gone, and sitting alongside where that debt used to be, a $42,000 investment portfolio that had been growing the entire time I was paying down what I owed. If you have ever felt like debt disqualifies you from building wealth, this video is going to change how you think about money completely. And the system I'm going to show you works whether you owe $3,000 or $300,000, whether you are 24 or 54, whether your income is $35,000 or $150,000. The math does not care about any of that. Stay with me, because what I am going to show you in about 4 minutes is the single biggest mistake people make when they are trying to get out of debt. And it is a mistake that costs them years. Let me take you back to 2023. I had $22,000 spread across 3 credit cards. Average interest rate, 19%. That meant every single month, before I paid a single dollar toward the principal, those cards were charging me roughly $350 in interest alone. $350 a month, just to stay in place. I was working. I was not reckless. I had not bought anything extravagant. This was the kind of debt that builds quietly. An emergency here, a slow month there, a period where income dropped and the cards filled the gap. Most debt is not dramatic. It is just life, compounding at 19%. And the advice I kept getting was the same. Put every extra dollar toward the debt. Do not invest until it is gone. You cannot build wealth while you owe money. Here is the problem with that advice. It treats your financial life as a single-lane road. Either you are fighting debt or you are building wealth. Never both. But what if the road has 2 lanes? What if the most powerful thing you can do is drive both lanes at the same time, deliberately, strategically, with a system that makes it work? That is exactly what I did. And that is exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. Before we get to the system, we need to talk about the conventional wisdom, because it is not wrong exactly. It is just incomplete. The standard advice sounds like this. If your debt is charging more interest than your investments earn, pay the debt first, always. And at face value, that logic holds. If your credit card charges 19% and your investments return 8%, the debt costs more. So kill it first. Makes sense. Except it contains a hidden assumption that almost nobody ever examines. It assumes your investments earn nothing during the years you spend paying debt. That assumption is catastrophically expensive. Here is the real picture. The average annual return of a globally diversified index fund over any 25-year period in modern history, including every crash, every recession, every financial crisis, is somewhere between 7 and 10%. Now here is the number most people miss. Time in the market is the variable that matters most. Not the amount you invest, not the timing. Time. $480 invested every month for 25 years at 8% average return, a completely normal and historically conservative assumption, grows to roughly $430,000. That same $480 invested for 23 years instead, because you spent 2 years paying debt first, grows to roughly $370,000. The 2-year delay costs $60,000, not from bad decisions, not from risky investments, just from waiting. That is the hidden cost the conventional wisdom never tells you about, and it is not a small number. Now, before we get to the numbers, there is one more thing I want to talk about that almost no financial video bothers to address: the psychology of getting out of debt. Because here is what I have seen over and over again. People commit to paying off debt exclusively. They stop investing, they stop building, they put every spare dollar toward what they owe, and for the first few months it works. The debt is going down, the motivation is there. Then month 6 arrives, month 8, month 12. The debt is still there, smaller, but still there. The investments are zero. The net worth feels static. There is no visible growth anywhere, and something starts to break down, showing no upward movement for 18 to 24 months, then a sharp jump at the end. Psychologists who study financial behavior have documented this pattern. When people perceive zero progress in one area of their life, motivation collapses, even when progress is technically happening. Debt payoff, paid in full at the end, feels like nothing until the very last payment. It is a long, invisible grind. But when you are building investments simultaneously, every month your portfolio ticks up, even slightly, you have visible evidence that your financial life is moving. That evidence is not just emotional, it is protective. People who have visible progress stay on the plan. People who see nothing eventually abandon it. The 60/40 system I'm about to show you is built as much around psychology as it is around mathematics. Both matter. Both are real. All right, here is the system. 5 steps. Works at any income level, works at any debt amount. Let me walk you through each one. Red debt. Anything above 15% interest. Credit cards, payday loans, high-interest personal loans. This is the debt that is actively bleeding you. It gets your full aggressive attention first. Yellow debt, between 7 and 15%. Car loans, lines of credit, some personal loans. This debt is real and needs management, but it is not an emergency the way red debt is. Green debt, below 7%. Student loans in many cases, mortgages, some government debt. This is the debt that, mathematically, competes directly with investment returns. Historically, not always, but historically, you can actually come out ahead by investing rather than paying this debt aggressively. You pay your minimums. You let the investment returns do the work. Every single debt you have right now falls into one of these 3 categories. Before you do anything else, write them all down: the balance, the interest rate, the minimum payment. Categorize each one: red, yellow, or green. That list is your starting point. Step 2. Calculate your debt and wealth budget. The formula is simple. Take your monthly take-home pay. Subtract your essential non-negotiable bills, rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance. What is left? That is your debt and wealth budget. Let me show you with a real example. Take-home pay, $3,500 per month. Essential bills, $2,100. Debt and wealth budget, $1,400. That $1,400, every single dollar of it, gets split. 60% goes to debt. 40% goes to investments. 60% of $1,400 is $840 toward debt. 40% of $1,400 is $560 toward investments. Now, if you have a heavy red debt load, a lot of high-interest credit card debt, you might adjust that to 70/30. 70% to debt, 30% to investments. If your debt is mostly yellow or green, manageable interest rates, you might go 50/50 or even 40/60 in favor of investments. The split is not fixed. It responds to your specific situation. What matters is that both lanes stay open, always. Step 3. Attack red debt strategically. Pay the minimum on every account, every month, without exception. Missing a minimum is the one move in this system that you cannot recover from easily. It damages your credit score and triggers penalty rates that make your red debt even redder. Every dollar above the minimums, your full 60% contribution, goes to your highest interest rate debt first. Not the smallest balance. Not the one that bothers you most emotionally. The highest rate, always. This is the Avalanche method. And mathematically, it is the fastest and cheapest way out of red debt. Every time you pay off one account completely, Take that entire payment and roll it into the next highest rate debt. Your total monthly debt payment does not decrease. It consolidates. It becomes more powerful with each account eliminated. Step 4. Invest simply and consistently while debt shrinks. This is not the time for stock picking. This is not the time for crypto. This is not the time for anything that requires active management or carries meaningful risk of a loss that will derail your plan. While you are in debt payoff mode, you are buying the world economy on a monthly schedule regardless of what the market is doing. Down months are not bad news. Down months mean you are buying more shares for the same dollar. You set up the automatic contribution. You do not touch it. You do not check it daily. You do not make decisions based on headlines. You let the 40% work quietly in the background while the 60% does the aggressive work up front. Step 5. The debt snowball bonus. This is the moment the system starts to accelerate. Every time you finish paying off a debt account, every dollar that was going to that account does not become lifestyle spending. It becomes additional investment contribution. Let me show you what that looks like in real numbers. You had a credit card with a $300 minimum payment. You have been paying $300 every month plus extra from your 60%. That account is now paid off. That $300 does not go back into your spending. It becomes $300 more per month flowing into your investment account. Then the next account goes, another $200 a month freed. That becomes another $200 per month into investments. By the time your last debt is gone, your investment contributions may be 3 or 4 times what they were at the beginning of the system. Not because your income grew, because your obligations shrank, and you redirected every freed dollar into the lane that grows forever. Let me show you exactly how this played out in my situation. Month by month. Real numbers. Month 1. Debt. $22,000 at 19%. Monthly interest charge. $348. My 60-40 split. $720 to debt. $480 to investments. Debt payment covers the interest and chips into principal. Investments, 21 shares of VEQT at roughly $22 each. Net worth movement. Both columns move in the right direction. Small, but both moving. Month 6. Debt, down to $15,400. Monthly interest charge, now $244, because the principal is smaller. Investments, $3,100, grown roughly 8% in 6 months. Psychological state, I can see both columns moving. I am staying on the plan. Month 12. Debt, $9,200. Investments, $7,800. This is the moment the psychological shift happens. For the first time, I can see the investments closing in on the debt. The finish line is visible. Month 18. Debt, $3,100. Investments, $13,400. The investments have now passed the remaining debt. I am technically net positive for the first time. Month 28. Debt, 0. Investments, $42,000. A combination of contributions and compound growth. Now let me show you what the debt-only approach would have produced. Same income, same timeline, same 28 months. Every extra dollar goes to debt first. Nothing invested. Month 28. Debt gone. Investments, 0. Starting portfolio from scratch at month 29. The 28-month head start I gave my portfolio by investing during debt payoff is worth at 8% average annual growth over 25 years. Approximately $280,000 in future value. I want you to sit with that number for a second. $280,000. Not from extra income, not from risk, just from starting 28 months earlier. That is what the two-lane approach is worth. I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. Let me address the 3 most common objections directly. Objection 1. But 19% debt versus 8% returns. The math clearly favors paying debt first. This objection is correct in isolation, but it ignores two things. First, your debt shrinks linearly. Your investments compound. They are not playing on the same field. Second, the psychological argument I made earlier is not soft. It is documented. People who abandon debt payoff plans cost themselves more than any interest rate calculation accounts for. The 60/40 system keeps you on the field for 28 months. That is worth something the pure math does not capture. Objection. 2. What if the market crashes while I am invested? Then your investment account goes down temporarily, and you keep contributing. Because down markets mean you are buying more shares for the same dollar, and every single crash in modern financial history has been followed by a recovery that exceeded the previous peak. You are not a day trader. You are not betting on a single year. You are buying the global economy every month for decades. The question is not whether the market will crash. It will. The question is whether you will still be buying when it does. Objection. 3. I do not have the discipline for a system like this. Then you automate it, so discipline is not required. Set up an automatic payment to your highest rate debt on the day after your paycheck hits. Set up an automatic investment contribution on the same day. Neither one waits for you to decide. Neither one relies on you feeling motivated that particular Tuesday. The system runs whether you are disciplined or not. That is not a flaw. That is the design. Before I close, let me show you how to adjust the split based on your specific debt situation. Heavy red debt, $30,000 or more at high interest, start at 70/30. 70% to debt, 30% to investments. You need to reduce that interest burden quickly, but the 30% stays invested, always. Moderate debt, $10,000 to $30,000 mixed rates. 60/40 is your default. This is the system as I have described it. Light or green debt only. Less than $10,000 at low interest, flip it. 40/60 or even 30/70 in favor of investments. At low interest rates, you are mathematically better off letting investments grow than aggressively paying debt. Multiple debts? The order is always the same. Red first, then yellow, then green. You never move to the next color until the previous one is eliminated. And regardless of where you are on that scale, the one rule that never changes is this: both lanes stay open. Debt payments never stop investments. Investment contributions never pause for debt. The moment you close one lane, you lose something that compounding cannot fully recover, no matter how hard you work afterward. Here is the mindset shift I want you to walk away with. Most people see debt and wealth as opposites. You are either in debt or you are building wealth. One or the other. Never at the same time. But that framing is exactly what keeps people stuck. Debt is a chapter, not a permanent state. And the question is not whether to wait until that chapter ends before you start building. The question is what you did with the years you spent inside it. The people who arrive at debt-free with a portfolio already running are not lucky. They are not higher earners. They made a decision early, usually when it felt uncomfortable and counterintuitive, to refuse the idea that debt disqualified them from building wealth. It does not. Debt is the reason to get smarter, not the reason to wait. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your debt situation in the comments below. Tell me the amount and the interest rate, just like this: $12,000 at 21%, or $45,000 at 6%. I will tell you your exact recommended split and your first move, because the answer is genuinely different depending on your numbers. And I want to make sure you are running the right version of this system for your exact situation. If this video showed you that debt does not disqualify you from building wealth, share it with one person who needs to hear that right now. There is someone in your life who has been waiting to start. This might be the video that changes that. Subscribe, because next week we are covering something that sits right next to this conversation: the exact accounts in the US and Canada, where your investments should actually live while you are running this system. Tax sheltered accounts that make your 40% work even harder. You do not want to miss that. Debt does not disqualify you, it qualifies you to get smarter. I will see you in the next one.